Morning, everyone.
Morning.
How's it going?
So far, so good.
So I put a couple items on the agenda, but I don't know if anyone else has anything they think we should talk about. If not, go ahead.
No, so I was just suggesting that let's do the Prometheus one first and kind of get that out of the way.
Sure.
Because the roadmap may end up taking more time.
I think we're all okay with this now. Is Niraj?
Yep.
Is that the case?
Yes, I am. I just saw PRs. I was like, shit, this is going in 1 sec.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, this is all good. I don't have any reservations in making it default.
Okay, so then let's proceed. Great.
All right. Okay, well, that was easy. Do we have anything else that we should talk about before doing roadmap stuff? Maybe this could be a very short meeting today. Okay. So on the roadmap, I think the key thing for us is to figure out how we're going to do all this work and who's going to do it. So I'm looking to assign owners and also review priorities if we think priorities are a little out of whack. So what do we think? So who do you think should own?
Yeah, so I will own the first one.
Okay. I think Peter.
Peter. Well, he's not here, so okay. Yes, Peter will own the next one.
Okay. What do we think here?
Oh, so yeah, the third one is also Peter.
Yeah. It's just sort of an ill-formed task, so I don't know what to do in terms of the fourth one of assigning it to him.
Yeah.
Maybe we just get rid of it.
Yeah. Let's get rid of it.
Okay. I think you are starting to work on the extensions API,
yes.
Madar?
Yeah.
I would like to help.
And then Neeraj as well, right?
Yeah. Or at least be part of it.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get ahead and start this early. Otherwise, we'll be in the same spot.
I'm interested in this as well. Is this based on this old API PR? So today I took a look around, so found a design doc and an API pull request that's been created in December, I think, by Quad.
Yeah. So that is all related. That is correct. So the API request, and then there is an accompanying document. But now all that has to be reconciled with some of the forward referencing stuff. So if you look at that PR, there is a document attached to it, and yeah, those two are kind of the starting points. Yes.
Yeah, I'll take a closer look then.
Okay.
Okay. What about the next two? I guess this one is related. Metrics customization. Do you think that folds into the extensions?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So when we wrote metrics customization there, did we have something else in mind?
No, I think the only thing that was on my mind was just how awkward that whole experience seemed to be, right? Because you had to add annotations in places, and you have
Okay. So I think we should keep metrics customization separate and spell that out. The reason is that there are additional reasons why metrics customization is more awkward. And even after we fix the top line API, the bootstrap part and like all that crap is still orthogonal. That still needs to be resolved.
What do you think about those two owners for that?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
For tracing,
you can put Jacob down for this.
okay.
So this fits outside the bucket of extensions as of now because we configure tracing directly through Envoy built-in features, as far as I know. So I know everyone wants to put everything in the same bucket, which is a little confusing. So I don't know what more can we do to make it better right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and maybe that's the ultimate decision we come to is that it's fine all living in proxy config, and that's the API that we want to have for all of this. But I think it'd be nice to have one more look at what we can do to cover tracing and logging. I mean, Peter was mentioning rate limiting too, which I don't know if we think that should go in the same bucket, but some way of capturing the things we used to have separate APIs for.
Yeah, so rate limiting definitely belongs in the extension APIs, and like the first step of that in the Nupur is doing simply to show how Envoy native rate limiting can be used with Istio, and then pulling it and showing examples of how it can be used with the new extensions API would be, I think that's a requirement because it does replace functionality that we lost.
Okay.
Yes, so I think we can add separate buckets for rate limiting and separate items for rate limiting and logging, if you like, Doug. For tracing, I can work with you, or Jacob can work with you for refining it if there is an opportunity.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to add separate items for
logging at least, right? Logging, because logging is not through extensions. Am I correct, Mandar?
And it's correct. So logging will not be through extensions.
Yeah, so we create yet another API or stick with something like proxy config or something like that.
Yeah, so I think like for the things which already have a well-known place in proxy config, we may not need to create another API for. Okay, so I think what we still should do is someone should still look at it, right, very clearly, and then decide, okay, we don't need an API, proxy config is fine, and to kind of close it, but one way or another.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially since we added some more customizations on the networking side. Now proxy config can be overridden on a per workload basis. It's just that anything which is in proxy config requires a restart of the workload now. So we have to decide from telemetry if that UX is reasonable.
Yeah, that sucks, but
it's pretty problematic if you want to say turn on debug logging for something.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so access logging is not in proxy config; it's in mesh config.
But aren't a lot of those accessible through annotations on the pod as well? So yeah, you need to.
But annotations also require restarts. Right?
That's what I meant,
right.
Rob. Yeah.
So
isn't there also the option to use the admin interface though, if you're like in the heat of the moment debugging?
You mean directly port forward to 15,000? Yes. But Yeah, let's not solve it now. Those points are all valid, Rob. I was just mentioning that we have some UX issues here.
Right. So I mean that and actually thanks for bringing that up, Rob, as well. But I think that's exactly if someone actually goes through that, like produces a doc and says, hey, look, this is how we can do it, and therefore we don't need any other API, and I think that would be adequate. And then if we realize there are gaps, then we will create an API.
Yeah,
that's
I'm in
reasonable.
the same boat. I just want to have it fully documented, embedded, and signed off on.
Yep.
Yeah. For the tracing, we did do that this time. Jacob and I worked on a very extensive documentation for that. For logging, I don't think we have that.
Okay. I move on to operational excellence. I think I am going to own some of this. If anyone wants to help with the first two, I'd be happy to take it, but I think that's on my agenda for 1.7. Does anyone feel like owning the CNI E2E tests?
Yeah. This is focused purely on the telemetry side. Okay, let's put Jacob down for this. I'll talk to him.
All right.
Putting my name down will only get you documents at this point. Sorry, I just don't have bandwidth for code.
Sometimes code is easier to write than documents. Okay, so you have negative tests for telemetry and initial chaos testing. I know these were close to your heart, Mandar. Do you have owners in mind, or?
I don't have owners in mind, but okay. So, but I can tell you why I added that, and the CNI E2E is kind of related, right? The issues that we found late in 1.6 cycle were because CNI wasn't quite tested with telemetry in the same way, and B, because we didn't have enough negative tests that said, oh, I found the edges that I was looking for, or I found the metrics that I was looking for, and I did not find anything extraneous. So those tests are completely missing. I see Jay nodding here. Are you guys willing and able to pick up some of this?
I mean, honestly, probably not. I hate to say that because of the amount of workload that I have already. So, I mean, I was happy to be able to bring those up. I know it was so late in the cycle. I apologize for that, but this is a problem that we're trying to solve in general with regards to getting a Kiali out with an Istio version. So as you guys, come up with 1.6 release, we're trying to get a Kiali, a compatible Kiali version out, and we have trouble testing that until very late in the cycle because of all the churn. Even the first test day for Istio 1.6 was really kind of too early. We hit a blocker right off the bat, and so it becomes this incredible rush for Kiali at the very end of the cycle, and that turned into a rush for you guys on Thursday, Friday, when I finally got a chance to run with the CNI, and I'm like, uh-oh. But the negative tests would be very, very important, because that seems to be where we get hit in general historically, is that there's extra telemetry being generated that you don't expect. And then it shows up, when we look at the graph, it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? So, I'm in favor of it. I'm sorry that I probably won't have time to actually do it, but.
Okay, so unless we find an owner, I don't think we can leave it at P1, because it's okay. All right. So thanks. I think that at least one thing we know that it's important and there is support for it. But yeah, we still need to find owner.
Maybe we can Maybe there'll be some spare intern cycles. Or
Interns, yes. I think interns.
Okay. Okay. Mixer deprecation. I think what we need here is like exactly what's going to happen day one of 1.8 release cycle. You know, are we moving this to some other repository, and are we pairing off an old Istio proxy with it? That's the kind of thing I think we need to have a full plan for. And then in the working group leads meeting yesterday, there was a lot of talk about this in terms of writing guides for people who already have adapters and what they plan to do. So this seems to be a very hot topic and important to get right.
Okay, so Doug, I think the two of us should own that.
Okay.
I would like to be at least involved.
Yeah.
So if you can just send, or I can take pieces of it. So because I feel like this will be a big document, so we can divide and conquer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
R is missing there. It's NRJ.
NRJ. Oh, I've been putting it wrong all over. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. What about metrics expiry? We talked, I think, about doing this by maybe switching to using open census libraries directly versus the Envoy
right.
metrics API.
Yeah. So if Quad can pick it up, but it's let's put Quad and Peter on that.
Can you explain the problem here again, just like 1-2 lines about it?
So metric expiry in Mixer v1, what we do is after every 5 or 10 minutes, we essentially clear out the state and of the metrics that we have collected, of the metrics entries that we have collected inside Mixer. Without that, what happens is if you look at it at the end of the day, you'll basically see a list of every single metric combination that was encountered during the lifetime of that process, right? So what it means for a proxy is that at the end of the day, the proxy will show all the different error codes and all the different methods and everything that it encountered throughout the whole day. So it becomes like a cumulative thing of these things I've seen. Now, none of those counters are changing. They're still the same because I saw one code at like 1 a.m. and I'm still reporting it all day long.
So there are two things here. One is about, so when you say clear, I'm guessing Mixer v1 used to actually deregister some metrics. That's the only way of clearing, right? Like if you explicitly deregister a time series or something?
Yeah, we delete out the time series for inactive streams, basically.
Okay.
Not from Prometheus.
No. From its
from
server.
internal, right.
From the reporter. So
Right.
so what that means is we are talking here about two things. One is when the user goes to the Prometheus query server and queries the current metrics, they will see everything with the counters which are not moving. But if they convert that to a rate or some other query, then you will get the right things, right? You can filter them out easily. So some part of that can be easily fixed by filtering, whether it's in dashboards or other places. And then the other piece is saving space. Am I getting both the problems right?
Yes, I mean, right, space and bandwidth.
Yeah,
right?
bandwidth, right? You're like, so Prometheus is scraping all this useless stuff, which is not changing, and you're continually doing that all day long.
So for the bandwidth and saving space, Isn't that true if applications themselves are also reporting some metrics once in a while? Like the application container itself will also have similar problems, right? Unless they clear it out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They do. Yeah, I mean, we just systematically add a lot of metrics. So any overage we have is, again, systematically amplified by all the proxies, and that's why these things are important. Prometheus and any other metric system is capable of handling like metrics that go away and then handling resets and all that. So correctness is not a problem here. This is only about efficiency.
I see. I see. And you guys think that making it a P0 is important, as in people are complaining right now? I know one of them did. What's Carl did, maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, and not just for Prometheus, we've seen complaints about the data that's going into Stackdriver
Right.
Related to this. So, yeah.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Mundar, I assume you're going to finish the request classification work.
Well, so the request classification work has a lot of like istio-ctl kind of stuff. So I was actually thinking we can use some intern bandwidth for that. Though we still need to assign one of us as the owner, and the intern will do the work. So, especially the Open API spec thing, right? I think that's the if you look at that issue, there are like 10 steps out of which 3 are done.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a lot to be done, but this istio-ctl and Open API spec consumption was like one of the main UX related things there. So that's the part that is nicely carvable for an intern.
So, okay. So we need to find someone to as a mentor for the rest of this work.
Yep.
Any volunteers?
I mean, go ahead.
No, Neeraj, you had, I think you and Jacob had expressed strong interest in istio-ctl Open API, like that part of the work. So
yeah, so the only reason I'm hesitating is I know Jacob and I will have some work in networking and security working group.
Okay.
Based on our customer needs, and sadly, none of our customers are asking for this.
Okay.
So I can only, allocate resources where we have demands.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't want to take something that I can't finish. So happy to help if we get bandwidth, but I don't know if I will or Jacob will.
Okay. So Doug, do we have interns on our team that we can? I mean, we do. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's. So again, Doug and I, we will figure something out unless someone else can volunteer now.
Okay. This next one, I think we do need real owners for.
Yeah, and again, Neeraj, I'm looking at you because you. I mean, this has been there on and off on, I think, several times.
Yeah.
But in this cycle, you have advocated for it. So.
Yep. No, this one I will. Let's put Jacob and my name on it.
Okay.
The hesitancy here is only I don't think we have a good solution. So I would need help definitely from you two.
Yeah, I think yes, we will. will definitely help. But as long as you guys are owning it, I think
we can own it.
that's good.
That's not a problem because this is something that keeps coming up in our customer calls.
Okay. I think Kwat and Peter can own the because that'll cross over with the metrics expiry, I bet. I think Peter was going to own.
Yes, that and that you know what, like that we should raise that from a P2 to a P1.
Okay.
Because it helps us in the first P0.
Yes. Okay. Do we have an owner for this?
So we don't have an owner for this, and that.
That's probably okay because it's a P2, but.
I mean, so I put it as a P2 because I already looked at the list and I saw that there won't be owners. But I mean, really, we do really want it. But okay.
I mean, this is fine, right? I mean, we have the priority and we have the people. If anyone frees up, we'll get it. If not,
we'll get it. Right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know who to assign for sell or who wants
Quad.
Okay.
Yeah.
This I think Peter was going to own. I feel like John Howard was working on some of this, so maybe two of us can work together on that.
John, I could do that.
Okay.
One thing we also on existing Grafana 7, they have some new features we might use. Like in particular, they have this thing where if you have multiple panels with the same query, but like slightly different presentation, they can share the same query. So that may help with some of our dashboards where we, get all the requests multiple times.
Awesome. Cool.
That is Nupur.
Nupur?
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. I think this is also Nupur.
What is this?
So we used to have stats on, like, say, number of virtual services, number of destination rules, that kind of thing. But they were powered out of Galley. Is that right? And when it was consolidated to IstioD, it started going through a different code path. So while our tests were still passing, if you exercise the old Galley code path, we no longer get stats on like number of virtual services, number of destination rules. So this was like a bare bones way of monitoring Istio configuration objects in the system.
All right.
Is there any way to know when there was a configuration change as opposed to how many? Is there any kind of anything emitted when someone creates or deletes or edits an Istio config object?
Yeah, there is, like, Galley had those stats, right? Like incoming changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they still there?
I haven't checked if they're still there.
I'm like thinking of like a timeline. Like if you would it be possible to somehow generate a timeline of config changes somehow?
I've seen a tool that does exactly that. I'm not sure how they do it exactly.
Stackdriver has it, by the way. The Google hosted telemetry thing. I think they give you a configuration timeline, isn't it? I saw a demo like a year ago.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'd like to see that in what I'm doing.
They do it by vacuuming in all the configuration. So
exactly, I think it's a broader concern, Jay, and not just Istios, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think if we just solve it for Istio, the story will still be incomplete. So take a look at what Stackdriver does.
All right,
if you get a
thanks.
chance.
These last P2s, I'm hoping to find some intern cycles. maybe work on them, but I don't know that they need to be owned beyond that. So I'll put my name next to them. They're sort of pet projects of mine, anyways. And then, okay, I think I'll again look at the multi-cluster telemetry.
Is validation just adding tests, Doug?
Yeah, I think this is a crossover with the tests. And I think there was concern that some of the new models of multi-cluster telemetry is just running through the new models and making sure we're generating the right thing. So yeah, testing both manual and automated for that. I want to take a look at the VM stuff. I've been looking at it a little bit. If anyone wants to help, I'd be happy to have help. So I'll put a mark here if anyone wants to help.
Yeah. Anyone else cares about VMs?
We are starting to, but again, I don't know. With this in this quarter, I think security will take precedence over telemetry for us.
I'm interested in VMs. I'm not sure what this work entails though, if it's related to some of the stuff I'm doing, but I could potentially help out here.
So I think there is some crossover in terms of how workload entries get generated. And I know there was work on the automation of VM installation process. So this is just about getting metadata in the right places. So yeah, maybe there's some crossover, John. I'll add you just in case. And for the last two, is there anyone that wants?
So Nupur is already working on the Envoy side of this. But yeah, we should put her as the owner, and then.
Yeah, and I think we have good tests now, and the work on the networking side or the palette side should be very minimal. So if she needs help, Jacob can do that because
Okay.
We already added tests. So as long as she's not breaking tests, it means that it's we have made progress here.
Okay. Yep.
And the last one, I think that's been a P2 for like 3 cycles now. So
yeah, it feels like the customers, there's not a strong customer requirement here. Otherwise, it won't be a P2 for 3 cycles, right?
Right.
Yes, right. So I think that that one of the other things that we have seen before, right, which is out of mesh telemetry, the natural way that we have been telling people to collect something about them is to stick an egress in front of it, and then collect and then collect egress telemetry.
So we have been telling that, Mandar, but I will tell you right now, I've not met a single customer who's using egress gateway.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I have.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely have. So yeah, it's actually a very important part of like people's kind of overall deployment. But anyway, I mean, yeah, it will remain at P2 until one of us decides it's more important and actually devote some effort towards it.
Can I suggest moving that to like the future thing? Just because I think this being this long, I mean, I don't know what's the difference between P2 and adding it to future right now, I guess. Because this list is incredibly long, right? For just like 6 people, I think it looks like we have.
There's been people, I know there's definitely people that kind of use the gateways like as a facade to then forward to their existing infrastructure of services and then use that telemetry to visualize things a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's what we had been recommending, and that's where this thing came from.
Interesting. Some of the customers that we talk to, they use other dedicated egress gateways, which are not Envoys because of the other. They've already bought into it, and they don't want to get another hop. So this is interesting. I will be interested in learning, Mandar and Jay, about your use cases. Like they are forwarding every egress request through the egress gateway, right, Mandar? That's the
So not every they so at least the specific cases that I was thinking about are to reach like one or two specific destinations, right? So you have some old outside the mesh TCP endpoint, and actually this is TCP, it's not HTTP, at least the ones that I've seen firsthand. So instead of the whole mesh being able to access this TCP endpoint, they just let the egress gateway access the TCP endpoint, and then everyone else goes through the egress gateway.
So because you only want to give egress gateway connectivity or that IP NAT, something
Correct.
like that.
Correct.
I see. That's a valid use case. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, we do have a lot of work assigned to a small number of people, but at least we now have owners. So thank you, everyone.
Hey, Jacob, I saw you joined. Are you paying attention to the meeting? I know you had a conflict.
Yes, I am. I'm quasi done with my other meeting. I'm waiting on her to get some other information back to me.
I signed you up for some work.
Okay.
Protest now or hold your peace, kind of thing. But we can come back and say if we do sign up some. I was saying that we might have some more work in the security and networking space this quarter. If we do, we can come back and say we can't do this. And hopefully quicker, earlier we do better for planning.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that's fine.
take a look.
Yep. Well, thank you, everyone, for going through that with me. It took longer than 15 minutes. So we don't have anything else on the agenda. Is there anything else we should talk about or want to discuss while we're all here?
Mandar, do you want to discuss a little bit about the extensions piece? And if you have had some private conversations with Louis, how is that going to play with the overall config strategy we discussed that Louis and I will own, but we haven't started?
Since that meeting, I have not had any private conversations with Louis about this, but I think that like generally forward referencing extensions, right, seems like the way it's headed, which is similar to how Kubernetes ingress is also doing it, right? So you define a point and then you delegate to some forward reference from then on, and then that thing can contain details about what happens. If you look at the doc that we had, we actually have laid out the requirements, right? Like what all we want the system to be able to do, which is to provide defaults, have a well-defined way to do overrides, exclusions, and things like that. So now we have to reconcile that with the forward references, and then just come up with a concrete proposal. And again, if the initial doc does list forward references as one of the options, but at that time it was, I think, mentioned as an option, like a distant third or something like that. But now it seems like that is the preferred option. So we need to kind of
yes,
spell it out more and then consider.
So I think you have the requirements very well laid out. Forward reference is a mechanism, right? And we can have other mechanisms too. The thing that I'm struggling with, which I think I brought a few times and you agree, is whether we do forward reference or embedding. how do we propagate the correct context so that the thing that we are instantiating or referring to gets in the right slot in the filter chain or in whatever else, and how does it get the right information? I'm still
Right.
not
So
sure.
so yeah. So then if you look at the attached PR, then in the so yeah. So that's the PR that I think Daniel was talking about earlier. So there is a companion PR to this doc, which just dealt with how do you contextualize a filter placement. And
Can you
in
add
that,
it?
yeah. I'll yeah. So
Perfect.
in that we did define like 4 or 5 different stages, which actually, if you look at Nginx traversal stages, that they're very similar, right? There is like pre-auth, auth, telemetry stage, and then what we say is that we will place you. You have to declare which one of those you are, and then we will place you in one of those buckets.
I see. So it's classification and then relative ordering within a classification.
Right.
I get it.
Correct. Yeah. And
that makes sense.
And the 4 or 5 that we have defined seem, I think they do largely, they are enough, except for the case when there is more precise dependency between two. But in those cases, what we have said is that you just specify them together in the order that you want. So we will not disturb the input order, right? If you think that there are 2 pre-auth plugins which depend on each other, then you list them one after the other in the exact order that you want, and the system won't try to second guess that. So it will just say, okay, fine, like you have given me this order, I'm going to preserve it. And that way, we don't need to do the Envoy filter API style, find this name and insert me before it, or anything like that. My expectation is that this is going to get us like 95% of the way there. We may still need Envoy filter like semantics for like super specialized use cases, but as long as we have to ensure that both those things are still compatible with each other, right? Like we still want something like Envoy filter to be able to do something crazy afterwards if the need be. We don't want to make it impossible, but we want to reduce the need for it.
Yeah, no, this is the right way. I mean, all the proxies I know, whether it's Nginx or Big IP for extensions, that's how exactly they do it.
Yeah. So that's right. I agree. So I think we do have lots of material, and lots of it is like documented already in the docs. We just need to now take it and push it, like you said, early in the cycle, so that we have.
Yeah. No, thank you. This PR is helpful. I think I missed this PR. Istio API repo does not follow any of the owner semantics that we have for different areas. So as a networking working group lead or as a telemetry maintainer, I don't get notified. So this is very helpful. Thanks.
Yep.
Just one possibly stupid question. Do we know if etcd actually retains the order of lists in the resources?
So if you have, it's not really for etcd to maintain, right? It's like if it's one document and you have 2 filters in it, then that's just the textual integrity, right? As long as you maintain that,
you're fine.
Yeah. So we're not expecting any ordering between different etcd or different API server objects. We are we're saying that those two things are related by some rules, like which phase you belong to, and there is, I think part of it is currently not fully defined, which is whether namespace is first or root namespace is first, or things like that. But once you go through those steps, we will not have any other inter-resource dependency. We had to add something like creation date in Envoy Filter API, but I would really like to stay away from using anything like that in our real API.
You mean you want the order to be explicit, defined based
Correct.
on semantics?
Yes. Yeah, right.
Makes sense. Thank you. No, I'll take a look at that API PR, because I think I've read your doc quite a few times, so I understand I was missing this piece.
Okay.
Right? I don't have anything else to discuss. Thanks, Doug, for letting us do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else that joined have something they want to bring up, or should we get back 14 minutes?
Oh, and I just checked on the latest Grafana dashboard, and two things worth mentioning there. One is that the number of virtual services is actually displayed there. So, and the second part about ingestion at Galley is not displayed. So I don't know, John, was that removed or?
So all the Galley ones are gone. I think Pilot has one metric just for virtual services only.
Oh, okay. So then, okay. So I just see virtual services. That's it. But I don't see DRs, for example.
Yeah. So Galley used to have like a generic thing for
Correct.
every single
for all resources. Yeah. And then the ingestion rate is also not there. So okay. So we also need to like config changes are not. Yeah. Config changes are no longer represented here, at least not that I can see. So okay, so we do need to add that back. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well,
guess
Shweta just joined. It looks like we're just about to end the call, Shweta.
Let's end it quickly before we get more work.
All right.
I'm keeping an eye on you.
Shweta, we went through and found owners for most of the work in the roadmap. So
Okay, that's very good news. I don't know if you have started the retrospective. If you still seems like have 12 minutes, maybe you guys can spend some time on the retrospective as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the reason I joined in the end.
So
Okay,
one takes retrospective.
So we take 5 minutes to write something down and then talk about it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
You have the link.
I do not have the link.
There you
I
go.
was looking for that.
I see Jay dropped. Please do not drop, folks. This is the only time we can improve. While you are writing, I can give you the feedback from 1.7 retrospective. In summary, when I collected and I wrote it out in a document, two things which came out. One was the testing, another was the doc. For testing, we started operational excellence. For doc, we already are in a good place from 1.5. There are a couple of improvements which is made. So trust me, these retrospectives are very, very helpful.
All right, so we want to copy these categories, right? So and then just take 5 minutes to add them. Let me do that, Doug.
Okay.
Or are we actually filling it in the presentation directly? I'm sorry.
I was gonna take notes here and then fill in the presentation.
Yeah, that's good. So is that good? We just Should we start? I do need to drop at 11.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 11. Hopefully you mean 10.
My time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a good bunch. I don't know. Do we want to go over the shoutouts? Like those are mostly self-explanatory, but yeah, I think they're all accurate. Anything anyone wants to say special there?
Oh,
Good job.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah. Oh, we should spend I will tell you, we should make sure people are recognized, and I think you all did really amazing work. Whatever the working group signed up for, it was delivered, and mostly without any scramble. So it's remarkable. And I just wanted to give shout out to Mandar. I know the APIs couldn't be finalized until the very last moment, but you were able to deliver the feature nonetheless. So amazing work.
+1, Neeraj.
Well, there is, we have a big follow up on that. So it's it's done to the extent that it's done. So I think
small joys of life.
But I think you're right, Niraj. There was a lot of hard work, that required a lot of sort of consensus work. John Howard with the add-ons and the Prometheus stuff, and Jacob with the tracing API. Like, it took several weeks to get sorted and agreement. So we should say thank you for that work. And that brings us to what went well. We got those features, right? We got tracing configurability, and like you said, there was no real scramble. I feel like 1.5, we had the freeze and then 2 months of doing more feature work. So it's nice to not see us in that mode right now. And I think what went well is listening to Kali folks, but also getting input from the Kali folks and being responsive to the problems they were able to surface. Anyone else want to talk about things they thought went well?
No, I think this pretty much covers it.
What could have gone better? I think there is definitely room for improvement on the API side and just sort of completing the APIs. But, I think that was a tall ask to begin with. I think we continue to get burned by not having better test coverage. So we shouldn't have to rely on intrepid manual testing of the Kali team to find key issues, right? We should be able to catch them early and prevent them from cropping up. And then I think a continuing theme is just, seems like we're scrambling to get docs or get the right docs or edit the docs. And I know even in the release test, the ramp up to release testing, just trying to find people to do the testing was tough. So that I would put in there. What could have gone better? Anyone else want to offer anything?
Yeah, I have a related thing in the next section, but no, not.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about the next section then, Mandar?
Yeah. So I think that the related thing in the next section is that the first draft of a new feature should be completely done by the Eng team. So part of what went well this time is that we started the docs early for features. But I think the way we should change that is when we begin work on a feature, there should be a draft that fully describes the user-facing stuff, and that should be handed over, and that should be the starting point, because that way the technical details are established like up front, and there is no back and forth on that, and that gives us a much better way to work with the tech writers. The testing gaps, I think manual testing missing ones, we need to reduce that.
Yeah.
And yes, the RFCs are early in the cycle, so I think those are also super important, so that people get at least a few weeks of non-pressure time to think these things through.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Kind of another thing around like the feature docs as well. It would be nice to put Istio.io testing up along as well with your document. Maybe so it's like, here's your document, and then if you have any steps, applies or whatever it is that you're doing, to actually have the integration, the Istio.io automation integration just kind of along with that. I think that would be kind of another step forward for us to also say, like, here's my document, and I've also tested this as well, so that when things do break in the future, as regressions do, then we'll be able to catch, things earlier. To expand on that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one. I think what Mandar you were saying was very interesting, that we should. So basically, once the RFCs are done and your APIs are blessed, you can start the documentation at that point, right? Ideally.
Right. Yep.
And then to Jacob, like, if you are adding instructions, might as well automate it. I don't know who owns Automatic Istio.io right now. It's never been clear to me.
I know Brian Avery kind of like spearheads that. I'm not saying he's the lead for that. Him and I think
Nate is also yeah.
So, but developers are supposed to write those automated tests at the time the feature lands, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Are we talking about the documentation testing?
Yes.
Okay, so just one thing I want to bring it. I know we initially said that we're going to have likely 81 interns. That actually has reduced to 1/3, which is 26 from now. So we will not be getting any support for the test cases, which means I will whine around again for 1.7. So I was about to bring it in the retrospective. If each team can take at least 10 to 15 test cases over a period of a release, it will not be a big thing, but it will help us with the test cases automation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, folks, I got to drop.
Yeah, I think we're past time anyway.
Right.
So
yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.